Joining us right now, Frank O'Leary, Arlington County Treasurer. This is a huge political hot potato right now. We just had an election. You know, remember we talked about the very first independent, non-Democrat winning a seat there in years, and it was over this issue. Now we've got a couple of Democrats saying, let's not decide this as a body. Let's give it to the county as a referendum. Frank O'Leary, what's happening here within the party? Because there doesn't seem to be a lot of unanimity over this very controversial subject.
Well, good morning, gentlemen. Absolutely nothing good is happening within the Democratic Party over this issue, and it's something that's simply going to have to be faced. We can't continue in this vein. There's just too much squabbling, ill will that's been generated, people being removed from the Democratic Party. It's essentially tearing us apart.
And the price tag right now is $310 million. We're told that this is going to be paid for by federal, local, state funds, as well as this 12.5-cent surcharge on commercial real estate that can only be used for transportation. But back in 2013, when the price tag was only $250 million, the feds turned it down and said, we're not going to fund this. So as the treasurer, are you worried about whether there are sources for these funds?
Well, I think that Arlington County is wealthy enough county to be able to do this if we actually want to do it. I do think the funding is a very complex problem. It's one that really hasn't been resolved. So, funding problems alone might complicate it to such a degree that it proves infeasible. But I think the larger question is whether or not the people of the county really feel it's justified, this level of expenditure. Even if the money were to come as foreign aid from Mars, is it still a good expenditure for Arlington County? And that issue has to be resolved.
So where did this come from?
I think it started with the very positive intent of enriching Columbia Pike, developing it economically. It's the one part of the county that was not benefiting as a result of the metro system, and it's been in sort of a backwater for many years.
Well, was there
a long time, and it looks the same today as it did when I moved here back in the 60s.
Was there a study done that decided that this was the solution, or did somebody just come up with this out of their back pockets?
That I can't answer. You'd have to ask a member of the county board. I'm the treasurer, but I really don't get to make these sorts of decisions. Everyone figures since I collect the money that therefore I have some say over how it's spent, and I assure you I do not. Otherwise, my salary might be somewhat enhanced.
Well, it also should be pointed out that Columbia Pike is the home of the famous $1 million bus stop that we were talking about so much in the news last week.
Yes, and I think there's a cumulative effect. The electorate sees the $1 million bus stop, and they say, my God, my house isn't worth $1 million. How could a simple bus stop be worth it? They hear that the artisphere is losing another $3 million annually, that there's a plan to put in place an $80 million aquatic center. And I think the cumulative effect is, whoa, we're spending too much. We're not necessarily spending it wisely. And as a result, in the recent special election, they made it quite clear that they're looking for alternatives.
Well, and that is my question ultimately. Is this a wise expenditure? I mean, it seems like rather dated technology, and everybody seems to be going back to it. Does it really make any sense?
I really, I'm no great fan of the streetcar concept. I have yet to be convinced. But I think the question is really got to be addressed by us collectively as a people. And if a referendum is put on the ballot, that's going to lead to an exchange of ideas. It's going to lead to debates. It's going to lead to information. And then if in the end the people of Arlington want it, okay, it's a democratic process, a voice of the people, voice of God, they're going to get it. But that's has yet to be proven.
Frank O'Leary is our guest. He's the Arlington County Treasurer. It sounds to me like you are in favor of the countywide referendum on this. But based on the vote last week at the board, where the newly installed is his last name Vistad? I always have trouble pronouncing his name. Vistad. Thank you, John Vistad. He and Libby Garvey, they tried to block this, but they lost their motion. Do you think that the idea of a referendum is going to win the day?
Well, when they made the motion, it was before I think the people like myself started coming out and saying, look, we need it. And I've been around 30 years in the Democratic Party here in Arlington as an office holder. I have never seen anything so contentious in all my years in office. And this is not something that's going to go away. We have two seats up on the county board next year. And the same people who are agitating this year are going to be back agitating even more so next year because they have the prospect of winning a majority on the board.
I got to tell you, Mr. O'Leary, you said a few things here. We talk every morning for 4 hours here, and we hear a lot from people of Northern Virginia. And I know that you've got your ear to the ground. You're a politician. You kind of have to. When you say things like, I don't even know if there's been a study on this. We're a rich enough county. We'll be able to afford it. It's just a question of whether this is the right thing to do. I think a lot of people, when they think about this and they think about the project and think about the one thing that they hate about Northern Virginia is the traffic, and this streetcar is not going to help the traffic. In fact, if you've ever lived anywhere where there is a streetcar, it actually makes traffic worse. I think a lot of the taxpayers and the voters are just thinking, what are these guys thinking?
I have no doubt that you're correct because that was proven at the polls recently. And the real question is whether the Democratic Party wants to go through this experience again next year. I do want to correct one thing. There have been studies, and there was one recently issued that I haven't had a chance to read yet. But I think.
But the study had to do with the economic improvement for the stores up and down Columbia Pike,
exactly,
right?
Exactly,
Okay.
and the economic impact down there. And, I think everyone's in favor of that. The question is this the best way of achieving that economic impact, or are there alternative methods that could have the same result? And again, I think it's really a question of the electorate of Arlington County is the highest educated population on the face of the earth. The median level of education is junior year of college. So I think these are people who can grasp the issues, can study the data, and can make good decisions. And if in the end this is what they want, then fine, it's what they're going to get.
You have been quoted as saying that what is happening here is just something occurring through the old Arlington way. What do you mean by that?
Well, the Arlington Way is a method of decision-making based upon inclusion and giving the maximum number of people the opportunity to get involved in an issue, to present their side to it, and to just have all the facts laid out on the table before you take any action. And I think the referendum is part of that process. The referendum, in a sense, is the Arlington Way, or should be the Arlington Way.
Yeah.
All right, and you also mentioned, the politics is looming large. You keep talking about losing at the polls, and this is not a good thing. I mean, it almost sounds like you're saying that this could, listen, Democrats have a pretty strong hold in the county there. You're suggesting that this could actually chip away at that if the Democratic Party can't come together with a good message on this.
Yes, absolutely, and this would not be for the first time. Back in the early 70s, there was a group called the Arlingtonians for Better County. They were essentially all Democrats. They had a 5-0 majority on the board. By the end of the 70s, it was 3 Republicans and 2 Democrats for much the same reason that the populace of the county felt that the board was out of touch with the people.
Wow. All right. Listen, really great to have you. And as this develops and as we move toward possibly having this referendum vote, we'd love to keep talking to you. Frank O'Leary, Arlington County Treasurer.
Give me a call anytime.
All right. Thanks, Frank.
It's been a pleasure.